Hello everyone, Speedrunner 0-18 here, and welcome to the video that most of you have been waiting for. That is correct, we are finally moving on to Shedinja vs Wobbuffet. These are two of some of the most notable Pokemon, probably of all time, not for them being good, but for them being some of the most gimmicky and just flat out awful Pokemon to use casually. Let's start with Shedinja. What makes Shedinja a bad Pokemon is that it only has 1 HP for the entirety of the game. From level 1 to 100, it'll only have 1 HP. However, its saving grace is its ability Wonder Guard, which means it can only be hit with super effective attacks. So for Shedinja, this would be Fire, Flying, Rock, Ghost, and Dark. This doesn't describe the full picture since Shedinja can still be hit with status moves such as Toxic and Thunder Wave, so it's not completely immune from other types of attacks, but it does have pretty decent attacks, so hopefully that'll make up for it, but I kinda doubt it. Now let's talk about Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet only has 4 attacking moves for the entirety of the game, and those 4 moves are Counter, Mirror Coat, Safeguard, and Destiny Bond. Counter will deal back double the damage if hit with a physical move, and Mirror Coat is the same thing for special moves. Safeguard will prevent status conditions, and Destiny Bond is flat out useless in a solo run since if Wobbuffet faints, the opponent will faint as well, so it makes no difference. Also, the reason I chose to pair these two Pokemon together, besides the fact that they are both very notable for being downright bad, it is also because I did these Pokemon once before on the channel in the same game with a different rule set, which allowed me to use items and double team whenever I wanted to. I don't play by that rule set anymore, which is why I'm not only redoing these two Pokemon, but every other Pokemon as well that I did with the old rule set. Okay, now that I've rambled on for long enough and discussed Shedinja and Wobbuffet in detail, let's see how these two do in a head-to-head race. Please like and subscribe and follow me or support me on my socials if you enjoy, and let's get on with it. Let us start with Shedinja. During the first rival battle, the Charmander only knows Scratch, so Shedinja doesn't need to worry about taking any damage, because not only is Normal not super effective against Shedinja, it's also an immunity too, so yeah, it's not going to get hit with any normal type moves. During the entire first part of the game before Brock, the only Pokemon that can damage me are the optional rival battle with his Pidgey's Gust, and Brock's Onix with Rock Tomb. Yeah, getting past Brock in this run's going to be super difficult. Even if I defeated every bug catcher in the forest, as well as literally every trainer before Brock himself, Shedinja won't be ready for this fight at all. Well, Shedinja has to be level 25 to take on Brock because at that level it learns Spite. You'll know why that move is important when we get there. Plus, Shedinja is in the erratic experience group, so in the early game, Shedinja will level up slower than the slow group. So yeah, this is going to be one of the worst grinds I've ever had to do in my life. I'll let you know when Shedinja finishes off that grinding, so in the meantime, let's see how Wobbuffet's going to do in this section. In the first battle, since the Charmander has Scratch, the plan is just to spam Counter, and eventually I will take it out. After that, you may think Brock is going to be extremely difficult, but this is where you'd actually be incorrect. Before I talk about Brock though, before I take him on, I have to drain the power points of all of my moves except for Counter, since after Brock, I'm going to want to use struggle strats for a huge chunk of the run, since in this game, I can't exactly prove it right now, but I'm pretty confident that the AI knows I have Counter and will actively try to avoid attacking me. Because there have been times in routing that the enemy Pokemon would use something like String Shot like 10 times in a row and I drain all of my Counter PP. But if I use the struggle strat, I can avoid that entirely. Plus it'll probably be more powerful anyway. So after I get the power points left in Counter only, I defeat the mandatory bug catcher when it finally decides to attack me with Poison Sting, but as you can see here, he just keeps spamming the heck out of String Shot, and then poison damage takes me down for my first reset. It's okay though, I was kind of expecting that, which is why I saved in front of him. On the next attempt though, I do get poison still, but it decides to attack me more often, and then I get into red health, but the poison takes me out yet again. Okay, hopefully third time's the charm. It actually starts spamming Poison Sting on me now, and I can finally take it out. Jeez, that fight was hard. But you know a fight that won't be as hard is Brock. All of his Pokemon have physical moves, so I just have to spam counter to take it out. I did heal here at the center. That was actually a mistake, just ignore I did that. But you should not ignore Brock, as this Pokemon goes down super easily. Although the Onix constantly missing Bind was quite annoying, when it finally goes for Rock Tomb, I survive on 1 HP, retaliate with counter, and then I get a Brock split of 9 minutes and 5 seconds. That is still a pretty good Brock split, and since obviously Shedinja is still grinding to get to level 25, let's see how my other Pokemon do around this time. Togetic starts off with its only attacking move being Metronome, so that means it'll basically use anything in the entire game. Luckily for me, the first Metronome I used got me the move Water Spout, which does a lot of damage when I'm at full HP, so the Charmander was taken out in 1 hit. That was nice. But this is how I'm going to have to take out Brock. But first, in Viridian Forest, I need to grind on the bug catchers so I can be a good enough level to not be immediately taken out with Rock Tomb. So I get Struggle by using all of my power points on Wild Metapod and Kakuna and take out the bug catchers with Struggle. And then after the bug catchers are done with, I also defeat the optional rival for the much needed experience. After that, I fight Brock right away. I'm at level 12, which isn't a damage rounding threshold, but it's not gonna matter. The plan here is to hope and pray I get good moves to take out his Pokemon, preferably grass or water moves. Luckily for me, I win this battle on the first try, so yeah, Togetic's gonna be quite luck-based for a while. Let's go back to Wobbuffet and see how it goes through the early game. After going to the Viridian Forest to drain all of my power points yet again, I go to the Route 3 center and begin the struggle spam. Something else that helps a lot is that in Gen 3, they really nerfed the recoil damage that Struggle dealt to you. It only takes a 16th of your max HP, which is very little HP. Starting in Gen 4 and beyond, it was changed to 1/4 of your max HP in recoil. So if this was one of the newer gens, Struggle would be a huge no-no for Wobbuffet. Plus, Wobbuffet needs to save before every trainer, since this Pokemon is still quite bad, and I can't be too safe, especially since on the last battle with the Nidoran, I get poisoned due to Poison Point and I faint, causing another reset. I'm beginning to see a pattern with this Pokemon so far. Once I take care of all the trainers on Route 3, I go through Mount Moon, while also picking up the rare candy and the valuable star piece. Wobbuffet is going to need a lot of money for the potions it's going to buy. I also do pick up a Moonstone, even though you can't sell these in Gen 3. You'll see why I need this much later in the run. Trust me, this Moonstone is the difference between this run being possible and just downright impossible. But for now, let's discuss how another Pokemon is doing on its journey. Shroomish, the first stage slow grass type Pokemon of the Hoenn region. It had to battle all the bug catchers in the forest for the experience, but due to having Absorb, Brock was incredibly easy. On Route 3, however, due to Shroomish's bad attack stat, and the route having tons of poison types and bug types, I can't use my better Absorb, and I have to rely on the weak, inaccurate Tackle in combination with Leech Seed to avoid running out of power points. This is how a lot of the early game trainers go for Shroomish, except for the optional Hiker and Mount Moon. Having a grass type move here makes it super easy, especially since the TM for Bullet Seed is located where Water Gun used to be. However, who isn't easy is the Fossil Super Nerd. Not only he has 2 poison types, but at any time they can poison me, and Leech Seed will not be able to out-heal the poison. So if I get poisoned, it's an instant reset. But somehow, Shroomish avoids poison of any kind in this battle, and I win on the very first try. Plus, as Shroomish gets into Cerulean City, the first thing I do is go into Misty's gym and defeat the gym trainers in her gym with Mega Drain, which Shroomish learned via level up, and then I can take on Misty. With a stab Mega Drain, plus Misty being a water type master, this fight was never in question, and I take out all of her Pokemon on the first try. You know, if a weak first stage Pokemon can defeat Misty, I'm sure the 2 Pokemon of this video, Shedinja and Wobbuffet, can do it. Let's see how they're doing. Oh wait, Shedinja's still grinding, never mind. The erratic experience group is one of the worst experience groups ever made, followed by the fluctuating group. Okay then, back to Wobbuffet. After going through the rest of Mount Moon quite easily, Wobbuffet goes straight to Misty. Except instead of Mega Drain, I use Mirror Coat, and when her Pokemon use Water Pulse, I deal back an extraordinary amount of damage, and I win on the first try. You know, with Wobbuffet, the easiest trainers were gym leaders, and the hardest ones were just random trainers with Weedle. That seems to be a theme in a lot of Pokemon runs I do, but why don't we move on from that and go battle Rival 2. In this battle, the Pidgeotto has Sand Attack like always. The plan here is to spam Counter and Pidgeotto attacks me twice, but it does get off a single Sand Attack, and then when the Rattata comes out, it takes me out and I get a reset. Okay, I probably should have healed before that fight, so here we go again. And here is one of the worst things about Counter and Mirror Coat, is that their accuracy is still affected by Sand Attack, unlike Bide, so that's quite infuriating. Like, why does Bide skip accuracy checks, but Counter and Mirror Coat don't? I don't know if they changed Bide with accuracy in later games. I'm just remembering this from Gen 1. Something that's going to make the Charmander very difficult is that it has both physical and special moves, so trying to predict which one it's going to use is going to be quite a challenge. However, 9 resets in, I make it to the Abra, but I'm at too low of HP. Next attempt, however, the Charmander deals a lot of damage to me, and Ember does enough damage for Mirror Coat to take it out in one hit. Okay, now with 22 HP remaining, the goal is to use up my Destiny Bond and Safeguard power points, so on the Nugget Bridge, I can use my counters and Mirror Coats and get Struggle quicker. I basically try to use as much of my PP as possible before the Abra takes itself out with Struggle. Plus, when it does use Struggle, I can always use Counter to kill the Abra faster. But however, things don't go my way, and I just lost a lot of time, haven't I? Okay, this is quite painful to watch. Let's watch somebody else do this fight. Let's see how Parasect does here. Parasect has had to do a lot of grinding in this run up to this point, including having to be level 18 for Brock's Geodude due to damage rounding and being able to survive enough hits, especially from the Onix. As well as this rival battle. Before it, I not only defeated Misty, but I also needed to grind to level 27 to learn Spore. The main reason is that Pidgeotto has Gust and Parasect is 4 times weak to flying moves, so that move is going to be absolutely necessary. You know who else is doing a lot of grinding right now? Yep, Shedinja. Just look at it so far. I'm even further into the grinding session than I previously showed you, and Shedinja's nowhere close to level 25. If you want to know how bad the erratic group is at this point, to get from level 20 to 21, you need over 2,000 experience points, which is quite a lot, especially since the average experience yield in this forest is like 30. Oh wait, what's this? It looks like 11 resets in, Wobbuffet made it past the Abra with 1 HP remaining, and I can finally move on to the Route 24 and 25 trainers. Before I do that though, I need to use up all my power points on wild Pokemon. It's not going to be as easy as before since there are no Metapod or Kakuna on this route, so everyone on this route can attack. But Wobbuffet is super bulky at this point, so after I drain my power points, a simple potion will fix my HP. So while I do the struggle strat for the entirety of Route 24 and 25, I just want to say that I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and my effort to fit the other Pokemon into this video without taking away the attention from Wobbuffet or Shedinja. Do you know this whole video so far has basically just been Wobbuffet, since Shedinja is still grinding in Viridian Forest right now. It's insane. Now, I won't be introducing any other Pokemon for a while, and I'll mainly focus on Wobbuffet. I'll go back to Shedinja when it actually achieves level 25. After rescuing Bill from his freaky experiment, I get the SS ticket and go back to Cerulean City, where I take care of the innocent bystander and go all the way to Route 6 where I get the citrus berry and rare candy, like I do in almost every run, and then enter Vermilion City, where I'll be getting one of the best items for Wobbuffet to get for a semi-good time, the Old Rod. This thing can only fish up level 5 Magikarp, and they can only learn Splash, which does no damage, so now I have a quick way of getting Struggle if I heal at the center. With the Old Rod and the Versus Seeker and Super Rods bought at the Mart, I battle a bunch of trainers on the SS Sand to prepare for the Rival 3 battle. The minimum level I needed to be is 25, which is over a damage rounding threshold to maximize the amount of damage I can deal to his Pokemon at this point, especially the Pidgeotto. Let's do this. Before this battle, I used 3 rare candies to get to level 28, since 25 was actually the minimum level before candies. I may have forgotten to mention that. Anyway, with this level obtained and using the struggle strat as usual, I'm able to go through this fight quite easily, all thanks to the citrus berry I was holding. If it weren't for the citrus berry, I would not have survived the recoil damage with struggle, and Wobbuffet wins the battle first try because of it. I then get cut, leave the ship, teach Cut and Dig to Rattata, and the trash can puzzle solves automatically. Scott's Thoughts was able to make GameHook automatically solve the trash can puzzle just like for Gen 1. However, there were some rough patches at the time while figuring this out, since the bytes in the game's RAM surrounding the trash can puzzle flag were also flags to other things, and this value we would set it to would end up setting other flags. I'll tell you about that when the time comes. Anyway, the bugs with the software didn't affect the gameplay too much, as Wobbuffet's ready to take on Lieutenant Surge. Against Surge, Wobbuffet is doing the same strategy as it did with most of the other trainers, the struggle strat. I could have used Miracle to deal back a lot of damage after his team used Shockwave, but they do have physical moves as well, so it wasn't really a good idea. But still, with struggle strats, Wobbuffet is not safe from anyone, even Lieutenant Surge. I lost this battle more than 5 times in a row, mostly due to his Pokemon dealing a lot of damage to me. But as well as Wobbuffet being constantly paralyzed, and Raichu setting up double team in the process of me missing all my struggles. Okay, this fight's starting to piss me off. Why don't we take a little break from Wobbuffet and see how a couple of other Pokemon take on Surge the right way. Let's take a look at Lieutenant Surge with Mew and Celebi. These are the first 2 mythical Pokemon ever released, and these 2 both have 100 in every base stat, so these things are quite amazing all around. These 2 Pokemon also take on Surge in a similar way. For Mew, since it get Mega Punch by level up, Mega Punch is enough to take out his first 2 Pokemon in a single hit, and then Raichu is taken out in a Mega Punch followed by a Secret Power. Since after the Mega Punch, Raichu used a double team, and I didn't want to risk missing Mega Punch. And with Celebi, since it does not have access to Mega Punch, it has to rely on the weaker Secret Power, so his Voltorb and Pikachu were still alive in red health. But that doesn't really matter too much, since Celebi can outlive all of them, deal with their attacks, and then retaliate and win the match on the first try. Man, it's nice to see someone steamroll Lieutenant Surge as it should usually be. Let's go back to Wobbuffet and see how it is doing. Well, since we were looking at the mythical Pokemon Mew and Celebi, at 23 resets clock in, Wobbuffet gets the entire fight without bad paralysis luck, and is finally able to defeat Lieutenant Surge for a time of 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 39 seconds. You know, this is technically a race between Wobbuffet and Shedinja. Where is Shedinja at this point? Oh wait, even at over an hour in, it's still grinding in Viridian Forest. You know though, one advantage of this grinding is that the Weedle here gives speed EVs, and I'm sure Shedinja is going to max out its speed, which should help it a lot in later battles. Anyway, back to Wobbuffet. After getting the bike voucher to exchange in Cerulean City for a bike, I take on the Route 9 Rock Tunnel Gauntlet. Just like the Route 24-25 Gauntlet, this gauntlet shouldn't be challenging, but the first trainer, the Rapping Lass, gets off a poison on Wobbuffet and it dies to poison damage. How does this keep happening? Besides that one-off instance, the only trainer to provide a challenge was the hiker with the 2 Onix and a single Geodude, mostly because Struggle is a physical move and the Onix have only their defense stat going for them. This is what happens when your only good option for random trainers is struggle. Oh yeah, on the Gen 1 self-destructing hiker, even though he doesn't have self-destruct anymore, his Pokemon's rock-hard defenses did cause me a reset. Just figured I'd point it out. Anyway, with all those stupid resets out of the way, let's move on to Cerulean City, where I heal at the center and go shopping right away before doing the Rocket Hideout, which is quite rare in this game. The main reason I came here was to get a lot of fresh waters, which is the most cost-efficient healing item in the game, with HP healed per dollar spent. With enough drinks to feed an entire Super Bowl, I get the HM for Fly, teach it to Pidgey, and fly to Cerulean. The reason I do this is because Wobbuffet is not ready to do either Giovanni or Rival 4 yet, since their teams will deal too much damage and I won't be able to take them out, especially Giovanni's rock types and his Kangaskhan and Rival 4's Pidgeotto and Gyarados, plus his Execute loves putting me to sleep. Wobbuffet needs to grind, and at the time, the best way I thought to do it was the daycare grind. For 99% of Pokemon, even weaklings like Sunkern, it would be faster to grind on trainers. But the problem is that if I were to grind, I would run out of fresh waters and then I would have to rebuy them, and then I would have to fish up 2 Magikarps to get struggle back. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I think grinding on trainers may have just been a bit faster. But I am not doing this again. I do realize this later in the run though, so this is the only daycare grind for the run. Plus, I don't have any access to the move deleter yet. He is in Fuchsia City, so I can't delete Safeguard and Destiny Bond yet, but trust me, I will be doing that. While we wait, let's see how another Pokemon handles the Rocket Hideout and Pokemon Tower segments of the run. There are plenty of Pokemon I haven't talked about yet. Let's see, who should I talk about? Oh, I know. Houndoom. Houndoom is a special attacking cannon. Its Dark and Fire type plus great moves give it a lot of coverage and attacking power. In the Route 9 Rock Tunnel Gauntlet, at this point, Houndoom has access to the stab moves Bite, Thief, and Ember. Even though Thief and Ember have 40 base power, 60 after the same type attack bonus, they give a lot of power points to work with. Plus, Houndoom's special attack is super good for this point in the game. In the Rocket Hideout, I get the usual Nugget, which I only started recently taking since I found out where it was, as well as the actual usual Max Ether, Lift Key, Rare Candy, and Calcium. With those items obtained, Houndoom takes care of the Rocket Guards guarding Giovanni's chambers with ease, and now it's time for Giovanni. On the Onix, I take it down easily with 2 bites boosted by the black glasses. Same goes for Rhyhorn. On Kangaskhan, I also keep using bites since there's always the chance to flinch, but it really wouldn't have mattered if I got a flinch or not since this fight was super easy. I also want to discuss something, so it's back to Wobbuffet. After I did a bunch of daycare grinding, Wobbuffet only grew by 1 level. I was quite dumbfounded at this. I guess I really underestimated just how slow this was. So I ended up deciding that I was just going to try and do the Fisherman Elliot grind for levels, even if I use up my fresh waters. I also realized while doing this that I can just use the money Elliot gives me to buy more waters. I was honestly kind of an idiot for not thinking about this. But besides that, there is one problem with doing the Elliot grind before Pokemon Tower. He will not have his rematch team of his level 28 Poliwhirl, Cloyster, Seadra, and Seaking. He still has the base evolution forms, but this will still be faster than the daycare. At least more entertaining since I'm actually doing something. So let's get on with the grind. Also, now is the moment you've all been waiting for. Shedinja finally gets to level 25 and I teach Spite over Leech Life. You want to know how this move will help me with Brock? Here is how. Due to the AI realizing Geodude can't attack me, he will switch out and switch into Onix right away. I use this one free turn to get off a sand attack. I then outspeed and do a second one, and what I wanted to do is miss Rock Tomb, so I can use Spite to drain its Rock Tomb power points. This does take a few tries since the AI loves not missing moves, if you didn't know that already, but once I get Onix to lose all of his Rock Tomb power points, this fight is a guaranteed win, and I can finally move on from Brock with a split of 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 17 seconds. That is the longest Brock split I've ever had in my entire life. Holy f***. I can't believe I'm still doing Pokemon Challenge runs after this. Anyway, due to Shedinja having very good attack, along with being super over-leveled, Shedinja takes care of the Route 3 trainers, all of the Mount Moon trainers, as well as Misty with extreme ease. There is still the occasional Pokemon with something super effective, like Bite, but they're all slower than Shedinja thanks to all the Speed EV training I did with it, and I'm just way too over-leveled for this point. But after Misty is where Shedinja's winning spree comes to an end. I have to grind to be able to defeat the rival's Pidgeotto since it has Gust. I also cannot use the same strategy I used for Brock, since his Pidgeotto has the ability Keen Eye, which means its accuracy cannot be lowered, so that's quite upsetting, since it likes to lower my accuracy. However, the Pokemon here on Route 4 give way more experience than the forest, so the grind isn't as bad, but it's still quite bad. Once I grind to level 33 to make sure that Pidgeotto can go down with one hit after confusion damage, I move on to Rival 2. However, even at this level, the scratch is still a range to take out the Pidgeotto, plus the opponent only has a 50% chance of hitting itself in confusion. And even after Pidgeotto, I have to do the same thing to Charmander, except Charmander has to hit itself twice. So yeah, this fight requires quite a lot of luck, but I really don't have a choice. But 8 resets in, Shedinja gets the stars to line up for it, and I can finally move on from this battle. Let's just skip the Route 24-25 gauntlet and the Route 6 stuff and just go straight to the SS Sand. The rival is also here with Pidgeotto, and this time his Charmeleon. To prepare, I defeat every trainer I can on the SS Sand. Most of them don't have a super effective move, and if they do, if I can defeat them in one hit, it's fine. After I defeat everybody possible, I use one rare candy to get from 37 to 38 to learn Shadow Ball. This is how we can defeat the Charmeleon in one hit, but this move won't work on Pidgeotto, so for now, we'll have to use the old rely on Confuse Ray RNG bull with this thing. But once I get past it, the Charmeleon and Kadabra go down with Shadow Ball, and Raticate has no moves that can hit me, so I just use Scratch. However, will Lieutenant Surge prove difficult for Shedinja? Nope, none of his Pokemon can land a damage-dealing move onto me. The only move that can hit me is Thunder Wave, which just delays the battle. But other than that, this battle is stress-free, just like the previous gym leader Misty was. With Shedinja gaining a lot of time back from Wobbuffet so far, it breezes through the Route 9 Rock Tunnel Gauntlet thanks to knowing Stab Shadow Ball with an effective power of 120. I get through the long dark tunnel, and then I get Return on Route 12 and teach it over Scratch, so I've got a way better normal type move, and then I arrive at Cerulean City where I heal at the center and go straight to the gym. All of Giovanni's Pokemon have a super effective move against Shedinja, so now is not the best time to fight him. In Erica's gym, I defeat all of her gym trainers who can only deal serious harm to me with Poison Powder, since if I get poisoned I will literally die in one turn. So yeah, that wouldn't be good. With all the gym trainers defeated, it is now time for Erica. On her, everyone is a one-hit with Shadow Ball, but even if it wasn't, Poison Powder from Victory Bell would be the only threat, and Shedinja gets its 4th gym badge. You know, before we get too ahead of ourselves, we need to go back to Wobbuffet and let it catch up in the video. After grinding on Elliot to level 45, it is now time to battle Giovanni. On Giovanni, I'm doing the struggle strat yet again. Here's the odd thing with Giovanni. I need to do more research into which type of AI each trainer has and how it works, since it's not as simple as it was in Gen 1, but I'm pretty confident Giovanni has something similar to random AI. You'll see my proof for this theory when Shedinja takes him on. Anyway, Wobbuffet does take a while to take down Giovanni's Pokemon, but slowly but surely it happens. Now it's time to do Rival 4. Finally. On Rival 4, with struggle spamming, this fight is still slow, but easy. I don't know what else you were expecting from this Pokemon, but there will be some battles later in the run where Wobbuffet will have to use Counter or Mirror Coat. While going through Pokemon Tower, in order to hold on to Struggle, I actually skipped the heal pad by fighting the optional Channeler with a Haunter. She will move out of the way to the stairs, so there's no need to use the heal pad. This will be one of the few Pokemon where I actually do this. Then, I get the rare candy and send the Marowak to hell like I usually do, except this time I kinda struggled at it. And then I rescue Mr. Fuji and get the Pokeflute with a split time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 12 seconds. Let's go back to Shedinja and see how long it takes to get the Pokeflute. After I defeat Erica, I get Fly, teach it to Pidgey, grind on some trainers until level 50, and then enter the Rocket Hideout. With this level achieved, Giovanni will now be possible to take down. Anyway, you want to hear my evidence for why I think Giovanni has random AI? Here's the answer. Why would Giovanni use Tail Whip on Shedinja? My theory is that it knows I'm a ghost type, so it will exclude Fake Out and Mega Punch, so its random AI will choose between Bite and Tail Whip. Like I said before, I still need to research the AI, so when I finally know how it all works, I'll probably make a video on it or something, but don't hold me to that promise. Anyway, after I defeat Giovanni on the first try, I get the tea and go shopping. Unfortunately, since I already maxed out my EVs on Shedinja, there will be no Vitamin of the Day. So it's time to talk about Rival 4. This Pidgeotto can be taken down with one return, so Confuse Ray will not be needed here. Gyarados and Charmeleon do have a super effective move on me, but they're both annihilated with Shadow Ball, so they weren't even a threat. And finally, after sending the Marowak to hell by having it look in the hole in Shedinja's back, I send the Rockets down there with Marowak and rescue Mr. Fuji and obtain the Pokeflute with a split time of 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 24 seconds. So Wobbuffet went from having an almost 90-minute lead in the Brock split to just a 48-minute lead. Shedinja cut the gap in the splits in half. This is quite interesting. I'm guessing it's because Wobbuffet's grinding sessions took way longer since it had to get Struggle back and constantly buy drinks. Back to the YouTube poll again, a good chunk of you think Shedinja will win, but with this lead, are you still sure about that? There's only one way to figure this out though. Let's keep going with the run. After getting the Pokeflute, I fly to Cerulean City and get on Cycling Road. While here, I get the rare candy and max elixir, and then in the Safari Zone, I get the Leaf Stone for later, the TM for Sunny Day to sell, the Full Restore, Steel Wing for the same reason as Sunny Day, the Protein, Gold Teeth, Double Team to sell since Wobbuffet can't learn it, and Surf. Man, that is way more items than I usually get in here. Anyway, I then fly out and go to the Celadon department store to go shopping. I sell all my valuable items, and you'll never guess what I ended up buying. 30 Great Balls. That's right, Great Balls. I need the leftovers item in order to make the final battles of the run even possible. But in order to get the leftovers, I have to catch 30 Pokemon to get the item finder from one of Professor Oak's aides, and then I use the item finder on top of where the Snorlax used to sleep, since the leftovers is not a hidden item, it's a buried item. So I need the item finder. Let's begin our catching journey. First, I fly to Viridian City and go to Route 22 to catch a Mankey. Also as a note, since Wobbuffet is not a Kanto Pokemon, it doesn't count towards the 30 sadly. Only my Rattata and Pidgey do. In Viridian Forest, I capture a Weedle, a Pikachu by surprise since I didn't plan for one. Oh well, it just means I'll have one less Pokemon to catch later, as well as a Caterpie. Next up, on Route 3, I catch quite a few things. I capture a Spearow, a Jigglypuff, and a Nidoran female. While we can get a Nidoran male here, they are a super rare spawn, so I don't bother with that. In Mount Moon, I capture a Zubat, Geodude, and a Paras. I then dig out and enter the Cerulean City Pokemon Center. I go to the PC to withdraw my Nidoran female. With this in my party, I go to the Underground Path Route 6 entrance and trade it for the male version, so this counts as 2 Pokemon caught, which is pretty nice. After that trade, I go to the Diglett's Cave to catch a Diglett, but I somehow run into a Dugtrio and capture that. Okay then, and then I catch a Diglett anyway. You know, now I'm thinking about it, I could have traded the Spearow for a Farfetch'd and Vermilion for another trade, but I guess I just didn't think about it. Oh well. After that, I fly to Celadon City and enter Route 8, where I catch a Meowth and a Bellsprout, or an Oddish if you're playing Fire Red. There is one more Pokemon I need here, and that is a Vulpix, or Growlithe if you have Fire Red. But the main problem is that Vulpix and Growlithe have Roar, so when I find one, it can end the battle. I need to catch a Vulpix, especially since I can use a Firestone on it to get 2 Pokemon. Because remember, I can't use any other Pokemon in battle, so I cannot grind anything. But I remembered the extra Pikachu and Dugtrio I caught, so I decided to ignore Vulpix and Ninetales since I didn't need them anymore. After that, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. I go to the department store to buy some evolution items. I purchase 1 Firestone and 1 Leaf Stone. I then fly back to Mount Moon since I forgot to buy the Magikarp while I was here, and then I fly to Saffron City and enter the Fighting Dojo. Oh yeah, I also went to the Move Deleter in Fuchsia to get rid of Safeguard and Destiny Bond. Anyway, I want to get one of the Hitmon Pokemon to add to the Pokedex, but both Pokeballs were gone. You want to know how? Remember earlier I told you about the trash can flag in the game's RAM being set by GameHook? Well, the value I had it set to apparently caused some other flags to be set, and one of them was me already picking up both Pokeballs, even though that isn't even possible in the game. So yeah, that was quite bad. I'll have to make up for this by catching an extra Pokemon. I decided that extra Pokemon is gonna be Vulpix, so I guess I do need it after all. Unless I accidentally KO it. God damn it! While doing this Vulpix catching grind, I go to the department store to buy a burn heal for my Wobbuffet since the bastard burned me. Just a couple areas left. I head to the Pokemon Tower to catch a Ghastly. Easy enough. Next up, I go to Route 12 and capture the Snorlax blocking the way. I ran away from the other one since I didn't have the Great Balls yet. I only have 7 of them left, so hopefully I catch it. I did save here just in case, but luckily I get it on the 3rd ball. Okay, now for the last area, the Safari Zone. Here we are given 30 Safari Balls, so no need to buy anything. But first, I evolve my Eevee into Flareon and Jigglypuff into Wigglytuff. While in the Safari Zone overall, I have to catch an Execute, a Nidorina or Nidorino, as well as any other 4 Pokemon. I capture a Nidorina, Rhyhorn, Venonat, Doduo, Parasect, and finally an Execute after failing 4 other Executes with over half of my damn ball supply. I didn't even think it was that hard to catch one, but I guess I just underestimated this thing. After those catches, I evolved Execute into Exeggutor and Nidorina into Nidoqueen with stones. Now, with these Pokemon captured, I go to the Route 11, Route 12 gate, get my item finder, and finally get those well-deserved leftovers. These leftovers will help me out-heal struggle recoil damage, as well as just stay healthy in general. Catching all the Pokemon is the reason I'll probably never go for it in a normal run, unless it's round 2 where the run ends and I have a completed Pokedex, but here, it was definitely worth it. Now it's time for another Elliott grind. This will be one of the longest grinds I've ever had to do at this point, probably not counting the one with Shedinja at the start, but who knows, I didn't even time it. I have to grind on Fisherman Elliott, along with other random trainers because I was getting bored, up to level 58. After that, I decided to try and get some gyms out of the way. My notes did say to grind to 94, but this was before I routed in getting the leftovers, so I think maybe some of the gym leaders are possible now. Let's see. First up is Erica. No need for the intro since I already did that once per video, and I just used Struggle, as well as Koga right afterwards. I also wanted to battle Blaine, but I didn't have the Lapras yet. I realized that the Nidoqueen in my PC can learn Surf and Strength, so today, Nidoqueen is our honorary Lapras, and I head down to Cinnabar Island, get the Braid and Rare Candy inside, and enter the Cinnabar Gym. I did defeat all of the gym trainers, but instead of battling Blaine, I decided to see if I can take on Rival 5 yet. So I head to Silphco, get the card key, and go straight to Rival 5. He sends out Execute, and I am still paralyzed. Oh well, at least this will prevent sleep from Execute. This whole fight is just one super long struggle fest. You know, I might just say that the reason my notes said to be level 94 before fighting anyone here is because this was before I thought of catching 30 Pokemon to get leftovers. I don't want to rewrite the notes though, so if you go in the description to the notes I use for this run, because I always leave the notes in the description of every video, just know it's using my old route. After I successfully defeated Rival 5, I take care of the following Rocket Grunt and Giovanni with ease. You know, scratch that. Paralysis is actually good here because it does eliminate Poison Point RNG, which Struggle can activate since it's a contact move. I then dig out, causing existential damage to the economy of Kanto, and have an absolutely easy time with Sabrina. After all this action, I decided I should now attempt Blaine. On Blaine, his Fire Blast still does pretty decent damage to me, and on the Arcanine, the damage is too much and I get my first reset on Blaine. On the next try though, I get even worse luck with Fire Blast hitting me too much, so I reset again. On attempt number 3, I get a critical hit Fire Blast to the face and I faint again. I do eventually win with this fight with better luck, but it took a grand total of 6 attempts. Jeez, at least I did it. So now I can do the Sevi Island side quest and get the rare candy on Cape Brink on Island 2. With the Sevi Island stuff done, I get to Giovanni's gym, and despite his Pokemon having pretty high defense stats, I'm able to win pretty easily, especially to eliminating the RNG from Poison Point due to being paralyzed still. Before I fight Rival 6, just remember this video is also a race with Shedinja, so I should probably talk about it up to this point in the game. For Shedinja, after I get the Poke Flute, I do the usual Safari Zone and cycling road crap I did with Wobbuffet, and after I get the HM for Surf, I go to Koga's gym and challenge Koga to a battle. His Pokemon don't have any direct damaging moves that can hit me, but Toxic can still OHKO me, which is why I have the Pecha Berry. I just can't get Toxic twice, but luckily it only happens once, and I first try Koga. After Koga is dealt with, I get the HM for Strength, and I do the Elliott grind on Route 12 until level 70. I need this level for all the hard fights ahead, but mostly for Rival 5 since he has a Pidgeot with Wing Attack, a Gyarados with Bite, and a Charizard with Flamethrower. So while we do this grind, why don't we see how another Pokemon does during the mid-game? Let's see, who haven't I brought up yet? Oh, I know. Flygon. This Pokemon that should have had a Mega Evolution, but I don't really care. The Ground Dragon type from Gen 3, the OG one before Garchomp made it irrelevant. This Pokemon gets plenty of strong attacks during the run, but Crunch is a special move in this gen, so despite it being a great move, it only utilizes Flygon's weaker special attack. Oh well, let's see how it does at gyms 4 through 7. On Erica, I just spam Crunch while having the Black Glasses equipped for the extra 10% damage. I got the Black Glasses in the Rocket Hideout. I barely win this fight in Red Health, but that's mostly due to the fact I was paralyzed. After Erica, I have to do an Elliott grind for the harder gym and rival battles ahead. Good thing though with Flygon is that it has so many power points that I can go to the center to heal less often, so it should end up saving more time than normal. I only have to grind to level 44 fortunately, which in combination with using some of the vitamins I got in Silphco, mostly proteins, I can go battle Rival 5. The Pidgeot goes down in 1 hit and the Gyarados goes down in 2 hits. The Charizard I use a Feint Attack on in order for Rock Slide to deliver the 1 hit. And then I just spam Feint Attack on the Execute and Alakazam since Charizard did land a Smokescreen and I didn't want to risk Crunch missing. I'll skip Giovanni for now and go straight to Sabrina. Here's the thing, with a powerful Dark type move like Crunch, this fight is super easy, even though Crunch is a special attacking move. Koga is next for our flying ground type dragon. The TM for Earthquake isn't in Silphco in the remakes like it is in Red and Blue, because Giovanni gives you that TM, but it doesn't matter for this fight because 1, Crunch is enough to deal with his entire team, and 2, half of his team have Levitate, so for them it wouldn't help at all. Finally we have Blaine. The plan here is to spam Crunch. Luckily Intimidate doesn't matter since Crunch isn't physical, and I win on the first try, but just barely. And Flygon finishes the first 7 gym leaders with a time under 54 minutes. That is quite fast, you know. It's been enough time. Let's see if Shedinja is done. Oh look, it's level 70. Now it's time for Rival 5. Pidgeot goes down in 1 return, and Gyarados goes down in 1 Shadow Ball. But on the Charizard, I have to have it hit itself in confusion just once. Luckily it does, and I win the fight on the first try. Giovanni is next. I have to spam Shadow Ball on the Nidorino, Nidoqueen, and Rhyhorn because Return is a contact move, and Poison Point is a death sentence for Shedinja, as I've stated many times so far. When Kangaskhan comes out, it luckily no longer has Bite, so it has nothing that can hit me, so Return is able to do the one hit. With the Kanto economy ruined twice in the video and now they're in a great recession, I defeat Sabrina, who is a free win since even though her Venomoth has Gust, it'll go down in 1 hit, so it doesn't even matter. What does matter though is Blaine. On Growlithe, Ponyta, and Rapidash, they go down in 1 Shadow Ball. However, by the time Arcanine comes out, my attack is now half of what it was, and Shadow Ball will not KO it, so I have to have it hit itself in confusion not just once, but twice. Which Shedinja actually got the first try, which actually quite surprised me. After I do the Sevi Island stuff and get the rare candy on Cape Brink, I arrive back to Kanto and battle Giovanni. One last time. The only Pokemon here that is threatening is his second Rhyhorn, which actually can live a Shadow Ball, so Confuse Ray needs to work just a single time. Let's see if we can get it on the first try like before. And of course we do. Man, I'm surprised by the amount of luck Shedinja's getting so far, and Shedinja gets all of its gym badges with a time of 4 hours and 5 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay, I can see why you guys said Wobbuffet would lose the race. Wobbuffet is falling behind all because of the grind needed to obtain the leftovers. You may think that this was a time waste compared by just getting a few extra resets on some fights, but like I said, the later fights, the leftovers are absolutely needed. Well, with Shedinja now ahead of Wobbuffet by 51 minutes and 27 seconds, let's see if Shedinja can keep up this massive lead into the Elite Four. But first, we got Rival 6. Psych! I actually do the Elliott grind first. Shedinja needs to be level 100 for the Elite Four after rare candies. So after obtaining the Route 12 candy, I begin the long grind. You know, one advantage of Shedinja compared to Wobbuffet is actually Shedinja's disadvantage from earlier, the erratic experience group. In the later levels of a Pokemon's level span, the erratic group levels up way faster than the fast group. Also, while I was grinding, I decided to get the spell tag to avoid Shedinja missing ranges on the Elite Four, which were ranges in my notes, especially if it hits in confusion don't do enough damage. Since Shedinja can learn Thief, I teach it to Shedinja over Shadow Ball, which I will just repurchase the TM for at the game corner, and I go to the top floor of the Pokemon Tower, which have a 15% chance for Haunter, which have a 5% chance of holding a spell tag. Thanks to my overlay, I can see which ones have a spell tag before I use Thief on it. After a little bit, I find a Haunter with a spell tag, and I continue the Elliott grind until level 95, which will help me be level 100 before the next champion, since at this point, it only takes around like 10 to 12,000 to get to the next level thanks to the erratic experience group. When compared to the fast group, it'd be around 30,000. Now, for Rival 6. For real this time. You know, despite this super high level and having an attack stat of 247 and a spell tag to make Shadow Ball 10% stronger, on the Rival's Charizard, I still have to have it hit itself in confusion once. Can I get another first try lucky battle? Nope. I knew my luck was going to turn around at some point. However, I do win on the second try and I can move on. In Victory Road, I get the rare candy, the Lumberry for Agatha since her Gengar is toxic, and I enter the Indigo Plateau. Before I show off the final 5 trainers, let's see what Wobbuffet does after Giovanni. On Rival 6, still paralyzed and all, I just spam Struggle. I don't know what you were expecting, but I will just spoil ahead a little. One of the final 5 trainers requires counter and mirror coat instead of struggle, so have fun trying to guess in the comments which one. Anyway, the leftovers allowing me to heal up any damage I take allows me to basically outlive anything, and slowly but surely, Wobbuffet loses its first attempt to Charizard. What, you thought I was going to win first try? Well, haha, you were wrong. It takes a couple of more attempts, but Wobbuffet's able to get past Rival 6 without needing a super high level like Shedinja. But that doesn't matter though. Wobbuffet still has to be level 100 for the Elite Four, especially for Agatha. Agatha was super difficult to try and route out. There was another guy on YouTube named Furious Challenges who ran the game with a Wobbuffet with a super similar moveset as me, even holding the leftovers and all. He actually struggled at Agatha so much, he determined the run a failure, but he released a part 2 with an idea someone had for him in the comments, and he actually did beat the game. He had leftovers the entire time too, as I stated, so I knew this item plus level 100 was needed, especially for Agatha. Anyway, let's get to the grind. Been a while since you've seen one of those, huh? After finally achieving level 100, both Wobbuffet and Shedinja face off against the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit! With Wobbuffet, the plan is to literally spam struggle and wait it out. With Shedinja, Lorelei's entire team goes down to Shadow Ball, but on the first battle, the hail damage takes me out. But on attempt number 2, Shedinja wins the fight at level 99, so close to level 100. And also, there are 3 Pokemon we haven't discussed yet, the Johto Legendary Beasts. Let's see how they do through the final 5 trainers. With Raikou, I set up on the Dewgong with Calm Mind and then spam Thunderbolt the entire fight. With Entei, I set up with a Sunny Day to make Solar Beam a 1-turn move, plus it makes Lorelei's water-type moves weaker, and after some Calm Mind setups, I spam Solar Beam on everything. Although I like to say that the Lapras is actually a range, it'll do anywhere from 208 to 244 damage. And then on Jinx, I use Substitute to prevent Lovely Kiss from landing, and upon level 51, I teach Flamethrower over Solar Beam for the rest of the Elite Four. Finally, Suicune. I set up 4 Calm Minds and then spam Surf on everyone except for the Lapras. Due to Water Absorb, it is immune from Surf damage, and Ice Beam does too little damage, so the plan here is to take down our Lapras is to set up with Toxic, and then spam Rest in order to pass the turns to outlive it. I did worry about being left in red health from Toxic, but it doesn't happen luckily, and we can move on to Bruno. While Wobbuffet had to do the usual struggle fest, Shedinja had to use real moves. Literally all of Bruno's Pokemon were 1-hits for Shedinja. The Machamp is a range though, but we get a lucky crit, so no need to worry about that. With Raikou, I set up a Substitute and set up some Calm Minds, and once I'm at +3, I use Bite on the Onix and Thunderbolt on the fighting types. The Onix can break my Substitute constantly with Earthquake, so if it were to spam Earthquake, I would literally have to reset since I would not be able to set up. With Entei, I do a super similar strat to Raikou, except I only set up 2 Calm Minds instead of 3, and with the help of Sunny Day, I can take down his team with Flamethrower. Next up is Suicune. Due to having Surf for the Onix, they weren't even an issue. On Hitmonchan, I used 2 Calm Minds and then spam Surf. Let's see how everyone handles Agatha now, especially Wobbuffet. But let's start with Shedinja though. On Agatha, I literally just spam Shadow Ball. Half of her team is weak to Shadow Ball, and even her Golbat and Arbok are 1-hits. So let's see how the Beasts do before we discuss what Wobbuffet had to do to beat the hardest opponent in the entire game for it. With Raikou and Entei, the plan is to set up a Substitute to avoid RNG with Toxic and Confuse Ray, and after some Calm Mind setup, we can spam either Thunderbolt or Flamethrower for the win. With Suicune, we didn't get the Move Tutor move Substitute since we needed Toxic for Lorelei. I just set up on Gengar without any protection, and once I'm set up with 3 of them, I can spam Surf on everything. Okay, what did Wobbuffet have to do to get past Agatha? In Furious Challenges video, It took him many tries to get past Agatha until he finally figured it out in the second part, after part 1 was a failure. Well, my strategy is different from his, and I found it to be way more consistent. Here it goes. On Gengar number 1, I just spam struggle. I have to hope for no toxic, otherwise it's an instant reset. After getting past the first Gengar, Golbat, and Arbok with ease, we are at the Pokemon that made Agatha super difficult. Gengar number 2. The reason this fight is hard is because I can be put to sleep with Hypnosis, get hit with Shadow Ball, or get hit with Nightmare. I do get super low at points while doing this, but I do get past it on the first attempt. I think what makes my attempt different from his is that my Pokemon start with perfect IVs and the nature of my choice. Well, I think in Furious Challenges video, he probably just used a random Wobbuffet. Oh well, at least we can move on to Lance now. Sticking with Wobbuffet, while Wobbuffet did a struggle spam session and the Johto Beast had to set up all 6 Calm Minds with either the help of Substitute or Rest in Suicune's case, Shedinja actually needed to use Double Team. Without this move, I would have to rely way too much on Confuse Ray, making the fight nearly unwinnable. On Gyarados, I set up one Double Team and then Confuse Ray, and then I set up the rest of my Double Teams while I make sure that Gyarados stays confused. Especially since it has Bite, but sometimes it uses Twister. I do not know why. Well, after many tries, I get the Double Team and Confuse Ray luck I need on the Gyarados, Aerodactyl, and the Dragonite, which were the only Pokemon that can damage me. And then after Dragonite, the 2 Dragonairs were one-hit sweeps with Shadow Ball. Now we just have the champion battle left. Let's do this. Let's start with the Johto Beast and cover the stars of the episode last. With Raikou, I set up on Pidgeot with Substitute, and since Aerial Ace does little damage to Raikou, I set up with 2 Calm Minds, and with Bite and Thunderbolt, Raikou defeats the champion with a final time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 33 seconds, and a game time of 3 hours and 2 minutes. That is extremely good. With Entei, the same Substitute and Calm Mind setup is needed for the rest of the battle. This time, instead of 2 Calm Minds, I need 6, since I'm going to have to take down Gyarados and Charizard with Flamethrower. But once I'm fully set up, I use Sunny Day on Rhydon while still being behind a Substitute, so I can KO the Gyarados and Charizard, since even 6 Calm Minds are not enough. And then Entei gets a final time of 1 hour, 18 minutes and 47 seconds, and a game time of 3 hours and 30 minutes. Amazing. With Suicune, I set up Calm Minds on Pidgeot, but since I do not have Substitute, I have to hope for no Sand attacks, which I luckily don't get any, and once I'm at +3 with Special Attack, I spam Surf and Ice Beam on the rest of the fight. You son of a bitch! I spam Surf and Ice Beam for the rest of the fight, and I get a final time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 1 second, and a game time of 2 hours and 52 minutes with definitely no setbacks at all. Now for the 2 main stars. Starting with Shedinja, I had Giga Drain taught over Double Team, since that'll be our only way to take down Rhydon, so our strategy is less luck dependent. He only has 4 Pokemon that can hit me: Pidgeot, Rhydon, Gyarados, and Charizard. The Rhydon is a one-hit with Giga Drain, so it's only 3 Pokemon. On each of them, I need them to hit themselves twice. Each. I know that strategy is super lucky, but there was no other way to do this. Especially since with Pidgeot, I have to use the weaker return. But you know what's funny? Despite the previous Lance fight taking around 20 attempts, I actually get past the champion within just a few tries, when in routing, the champion took me so many damn tries. But just after a few attempts, Shedinja beats the champion with a time of 4 hours, 35 minutes and 13 seconds, and a game time of 11 hours and 33 minutes. Even though this is so far the worst run of Leafgreen I ever done, it was only 1 hour slower than Pokemon like Poochyena and Swinub. Now, let's see how Wobbuffet does. The champion fight will be the first time in a long time I have to use Counter and Mirror Code, since Struggle will be way too weak for his team and I wouldn't be able to survive enough strong attacks from his Rhydon, especially with his Stab Earthquake. On Pidgeot, I spam Counter to deal back double the damage from Aerial Ace. It does get off a bunch of sand attacks on me, which is not good at all, because like I said, counter and mirror coat can still get affected by sand attack. I ended up losing the first attempt due to missing so many attacks, and the Rhydon ends up finishing me off. On the winning attempt, I get past Pidgeot without any sand attacks. On Gyarados, I spam Mirror Coat since all of its moves are special. On Charizard, it has both physical and special, but since the AI knows Fire Blast will do the most damage, I use Mirror Coat and defeat it in one hit. On Alakazam, it only has Psychic and Future Sight, so Mirror Coat does the job. On Rhydon, I use Counter to reflect its Earthquake attack. That is payback for causing me a lot of problems. Finally, Exeggutor. It also has physical and a special move, but Giga Drain will do more damage, so it'll go for that. And while I'm asleep, since it used Sleep Powder, I just spam Mirror Coat as it hits me with Giga Drain. So once I wake up, I can finally use Mirror Coat and take out the Exeggutor, and Wobbuffet gets a final time of 6 hours, 30 minutes, and 3 seconds, and a game time of 16 hours and 9 minutes. Okay, I take it back. This is definitely the worst Pokemon I've ever used. Shedinja looks super speedy, consistent compared to this thing. It definitely was, as Shedinja is the winner of this race. Congratulations, Shedinja. You are the better of the two absolute pieces of Pokemon I've ever played, and I hope to never use again in this game at least. Well, this is definitely a long video. I hate to leave you guys still here over an hour in, but we're not done yet. That's right, even with the length of this video as it is, we still have to do the second round of the Elite Four to see if it's even possible. And you want to know how much I hate your evening plans? We're going to be showing off round 2 for every single Pokemon featured in this video. Let's see who is able to defeat the champion for the second time and who will not. Let's skip the Sevi Islands post-game stuff and go straight to the second round of battles, starting with Lorelei. Let's start with Togetic. On Dewgong, I set up with Shockwave, which does half as it uses Double Team, but Shockwave ignores evasion and I knock it out. The following Cloyster is a one-hit, and when Piloswine comes out, I use Water Pulse twice for the knockout. For Jinx, the best answer is Shadow Ball, and finally, we got Lapras. 2 Shockwaves are enough to take this out as I tank an Ice Beam. With Shroomish, I began by putting the Dewgong to sleep with Spore, as I use Growth to set up my special attack. It's a good thing this pathetic Pokemon has access to one of the best status moves in the entire Pokemon series. Once I'm set up, I just have to put the opponent to sleep and use Solar Beam. The reason I don't have Shroomish use Sunny Day is because there's no room on my moveset. Also, if you want to know all the times these Pokemon got in the first round, I'll be showing you the leaderboard at the end of the video. As I get finished explaining this, Shroomish wraps up Lorelei. With Parasect having also access to Spore, I put the Dewgong to sleep and begin my setup with Swords Dance, which Parasect can learn via Move Tutor on Sevi Island 7. Once I'm set up, spamming Return is the key to winning this battle. This reminds me of how kinda OP Parasect is in Pokemon Yellow. Keep an eye out for that video coming to the channel hopefully in the next month or 2 at most. With Mew having access to every TM helps, since I can use any strategy I want. For this fight, using Calm Mind to set up my special attack and special defense to survive against the Dewgong, I can spam Shockwave on her entire team, but for the Piloswine, a simple Psychic will do. Plus I have the Move Tutor in Cerulean City teach Mew Soft Boiled, which will be a great healing move. Better than Rest if a Pokemon can learn it, which not many of them can learn Soft Boiled. With Celebi, I have a similar strategy as I did with Mew. However, Celebi is weak to Ice Beam, but it seems like most of the time Dewgong prefers to set up Double Team as I set up Calm Mind, which is fine with me as it gives me enough time to get +3 and spam Giga Drain. With the same type attack bonus, this move has an effective base power of 90, almost as much as Psychic. With Houndoom, I don't have any setup moves, so the best plan for Dewgong is to use Crunch, my most powerful attack. Surf does less than half as I knock it out. Piloswine, Cloyster, and Lapras all go down with a Flamethrower, except Houndoom needed help from the sun. Jinx is not threatening at all, so let's just get rid of that, shall we? With Flygon, since I'm 4 times weak to ice moves, this Elite Four was not only terrifying in round 1, but also round 2. The game plan for this member of the Elite Four is to use Crunch into an Earthquake on Dewgong. On Cloyster, I use my most powerful special move, Dragon Claw, since it gets stabbed while Crunch doesn't, and then Pillow-Swine goes down to an Earthquake as well as Jinx. For Lapras, an Earthquake does half, I actually tank an Ice Beam, and I'm finally able to defeat Lorelei. Raikou had it the easiest with setting up Calm Mind while behind a substitute and spamming Thunderbolt, and for Pillow-Swine, I used Crunch, which I had taught over Bite literally during the battle. Entei had a similar strategy, except with Flamethrower being boosted by not only Calm Mind, but also by the Sun. Compared to round 1, I no longer have Solar Beam, and I'm not allowed to get back old TMs I no longer can get, so I have to deal with what I got. The fight is still not too difficult for Entei to deal with. Now for Suicune. I still don't have Substitute since I no longer have Toxic for Lapras. I have to use a different move to get rid of it, and the best one I got is Mirror Coat. What is this, Wobbuffet? Anyway, since Lapras in round 2 only has special moves and it'll usually go for Thunder, I can 3-hit KO it with Mirror Coat. This fight does take a few tries because Lapras kept paralyzing me with Thunder, and once Lapras is dealt with, Surf can take care of the rest. Man, I hate that Lapras. And finally, we have our 2 main stars, starting with Wobbuffet. It takes a couple of tries, but even in round 2, the struggle strat is still doing great work against Lorelei. For Shedinja though, it still has to worry about foes having super effective moves. The good news is that none of Lorelei's Pokemon have a threatening move. Not even Hail, since none of her Pokemon in round 2 have it. I actually find it super funny that Lorelei in round 1 was actually more threatening to Shedinja than round 2, all because round 2 Lorelei does not have Hail. Next up is Bruno. Togetic has Psychic to deal with the fighting types, and for Steelix, I originally tried to use Water Pulse, but I realized it wasn't doing enough damage, so I taught Togetic Flamethrower over Water Pulse, which I got the TM for at the game corner, and with this more powerful move, Togetic can deal with everything in 1 to 2 hits, so this fight was pretty easy. Shroomish starts off by putting the Steelix to sleep with Spore and setting up with Growth. Luckily, it misses a Rock Tomb when Steelix wakes up, and I can put it right back to sleep. Once I get to +2 special attack, I use Solar Beam on the Steelix, and on the other fighting type Pokemon, I put them to sleep right away and use a Solar Beam. You know, with -1 speed, I still outspeed the Machamp, which is pretty good. Parasect is going to have an easier time than Shroomish if you can believe it. I put the Steelix to sleep right away with Spore and use 2 Giga Drains. I wait until the Hitmonchan to set up Swords Dance, and then once I'm at +3, I spam Return on the rest of his team, and then Giga Drain his second Steelix, because that thing has extremely high defense. Mew gets to use the super simple plan of using Earthquake on the Steelix, but now that I think about it, I probably should have bought Flamethrower since I can use Calm Mind with it, but oh well, I am not doing Mew and Leafgreen again. Anyway, once I'm past the Steelix, I have to heal my HP back up with Soft Boiled, use a Calm Mind, and spam Psychic for the win. Celebi does something super similar, except for the Steelix, I have a much better move in Giga Drain. Houndoom is unfortunately burdened with the moves of Earthquake and Rock Tomb doing massive damage, but luckily with Sunny Day, Flamethrower is a one-hit on everything. Plus, being at -1 speed doesn't matter since Houndoom is that freaking fast. Flygon has the move Earthquake to deal with Steelix, but it is so close to being a one-hit, and I try to use Crunch to avoid a heal range, but Bruno switches into his other Steelix, which is just fine by me. With the Steelix taken care of, all of his other Pokemon are taken care of with Earthquake, and when I run out of that, Dragon Claw. Raikou still has to set up on Steelix, but good news is that Rock Tomb won't break the substitute, but Earthquake will. And if Steelix, like the Onix from round 1, just spams Earthquake, I'm going to lose. Luckily, it only takes a few tries for the luck to go my way. Entei has the moves Reflect taught over Sunny Day, so while I'm behind a substitute, I can take less physical damage and then keep my substitute up. Luckily, Flamethrower without Sunny Day or Calm Mind is still a one-hit on the Steelix, which was honestly what I was most worried about due to Earthquake. Suicune has the stab Surf to deal with the Steelix for the one-hit. Then on the Hitmonlee, I set up one Calm Mind since it doesn't have Rock Tomb to initiate speed control. Once I'm at +2, literally nothing can stop Suicune's roaring surfs from complete devastation. Wobbuffet can no longer use the struggle strat. The Steelix do way too much damage to Wobbuffet, so I use a max ether on counter, and then I use up all of my counters, and then once I'm out, I just use the struggle strat, and I do end up winning the fight. Shedinja actually cannot make it past here. This is the first trainer I've ever fought in the entire run, to my knowledge, where every single Pokemon has a super effective move. I gave myself 30 attempts to try and get past this, which is my rule for round 2, where if I can't get past a fight in 30 attempts, I fail. I also used up Double Team, so I cannot get it back. I'm sure with Double Team this could have been possible, but once you use Double Team, you can't get it back, as I stated. I started facing Bruno 41 resets in, and by the time I hit 70, and I faint to the Steelix, marking 71, which is 30 resets, round 2 for Shedinja is a failure. However, Wobbuffet is still moving on, so let's see if it and everyone else can defeat Agatha. Now for Agatha. Togetic has Shadow Ball and Psychic to deal with the ghosts and the poison types here. Even without Calm Mind, since Togetic can't learn it, this battle is super easy, and I win the fight pretty good. It would have been better to have Soft Boiled here, which Togetic can learn, but I actually forgot about that move at the time. Shroomish you would expect to have a difficult time against the Poison type Elite 4 member, but you'd be right. This battle was super difficult. I was really worried Shroomish would lose here, but I won the fight around 20 resets in or so, before the 30 threshold, so Shroomish will be able to move on. In order to win, Shroomish had to put Gengar to sleep and set up with Double Team, which was the only way to win. I tried with other strats, but they wouldn't work. With Double Team set up, I can set up Growth and raise my special attack and just annihilate everyone with Solar Beam. It's a good thing I had PP ups used on that move, otherwise I would have ran out. Parasect had to put the Gengar to sleep, set up Swords Dance, and then spam its only physical move that can hit ghost types, the TM for Aerial Ace, which I had picked up on Route 9 and taught over Return. Even with a weaker base power, having 3 Swords Dances is super OP, and I win pretty easily unless I hit myself in confusion with my boosted attack stat, which does happen a few times. Mew starts off the battle with Calm Mind, just one though, and then spams Psychic on everyone else. Even the second Gengar is a one-hit. Celebi also did that literal exact same strategy. Houndoom barely struggled at the second round of Agatha at all. Having access to a Stab Crunch boosted by the black glasses, her ghost Pokemon will be seeing ghosts when Houndoom finishes them off. Well, I guess I flamethrower her poison types, but I decided that burning their soul was more fun. Flygon goes for an approach that wasn't as sociopathic as what Houndoom did. I don't have Flygon use Crunch to see ghosts, I just do enough damage to crunch their souls in half, so no need for them to see ghosts. Raikou also has access to Crunch just like Houndoom and Flygon, so after hiding behind a substitute and setting up Calm Mind, I just spam Crunch and make them see so many ghosts. Entei unfortunately doesn't have Crunch, so that's the end of making them see ghosts, but Flamethrower will do. I begin by setting up a substitute on Gengar, and then set up Calm Mind. Once I'm at +4, I spam Flamethrower, and literally every one of her Pokemon was a one-hit. Suicune begins the Agatha battle by setting up one Calm Mind, dodging the Gengar's Hypnosis the first time, and then after being put to sleep with the second Hypnosis, I wake up and defeat it with Surf. On Mischievous, I use Surf on it, but I don't KO it, and eventually I get a reset. But on the next attempt, after a single Calm Mind, I get better luck and move on deeper into the Elite Four. But first, since Shedinja couldn't get past Bruno, let's see if Wobbuffet can get past Agatha. I start the battle with 75 resets on the clock. The reason my resets went way up compared to Bruno was that I actually left the league to change strategy, but then I tried to come back. It took 20 tries to beat Lorelei again, which was super annoying. But speaking of Agatha, the main problem isn't the fact that her first Gengar can put me to sleep, or the fact that the Crobat outspeeds me. No, the main problem is her second Gengar. With its Stab Shadow Ball and other powerful moves like Thunderbolt, it does way too much damage to me, and even with leftovers, I cannot heal enough HP, and it always keeps taking me out. When I realized that the struggle strat wouldn't work, I would max out the PP and counter in Mirror Coat and try to defeat it that way. But after 21 resets with this strat, plus the resets I had at Agatha with a different strategy before, I got a total of 30 resets on Agatha, so round 2 is a failure. So out of the 2 main stars of this episode, Wobbuffet did better in round 2. Agatha's second Gengar was just doing way too much damage, and Bruno taught every one of his Pokemon rock moves, so Shedinja couldn't get past any of them. Well, with the main stars having failed round 2, will any other of the old 386 Speedrun Challenge Pokemon beat the champion? Or even Lance? Let's find out. I then have Togetic leave the league and come back with Soft Boiled. With having access to this great healing move just like Mew did, I can survive long enough to defeat the entirety of Lance's team. Shroomish starts off Lance right by putting it to sleep, and then boosting my special attack, but then when Gyarados wakes up, it goes for Thunder Wave. This is the reason I have the Lumberry for this fight, but it only works one time, but with Perseverance, even Shroomish can get past this battle. Parasect has been on an absolute roll in the second round so far. I start by putting Gyarados to sleep, and once I have 3 Swords Dances to get to +5 since Gyarados had Intimidate, I used Aerial Ace on everything but the Aerodactyl, which I used Giga Drain into an Aerial Ace. Man, it's a good thing Parasect can learn Aerial Ace. If it couldn't, I don't even know if this thing would have gotten past Agatha. I would have had to rely on Solar Beam. Mew starts the battle by using a single Calm Mind, and Gyarados uses Thunder Wave. But due to Synchronize, Mew's ability, the Gyarados is also paralyzed, but it doesn't matter as I get knocked out. After a few more tries, I get the luck to line up for Mew, and I take it out with only 4 Calm Minds. Celebi has the leftovers for this battle while Mew did not, so there's one advantage. I do get paralyzed though, but once Celebi gets to +4 special attack, Psychic and Giga Drain is enough for the win. Houndoom takes down the Gyarados with 2 crunches, and seemingly, unlike half the Pokemon I've used so far, I have a Lumberry in case of Thunder Wave. In order to win this battle, however, I have to teach Houndoom Attract for the Dragonite, since it can deal so much damage with Earthquake. At 15 resets in, Houndoom survives the battle with enough luck and HP to win the fight. Flygon starts off with Rock Slide to deal half damage, and Gyarados tries to use Thunder Wave on Flygon like an absolute idiot, which is just so funny. Anyway, on Dragonite, a Dragon Claw is barely enough to knock it out. It does knock out the weaker Dragonite luckily. I use Rock Slide on Aerodactyl, get a lucky flinch, and I win the battle on the very first try. Raikou uses Thunderbolt on Gyarados for the easy one-hit, as well as Aerodactyl, which I outsped by 4 points, so that was quite clutch. The Dragonite goes down in 2 Thunderbolts as I tank an Earthquake. On Kingdra, I set up 1 Calm Mind and go with Thunderbolt, but it lives in red, and I use another Calm Mind to take it out with Thunderbolt. It's a good thing Kingdra loves to set up more than actually attack. Entei sets up a substitute on Gyarados, and I set up Calm Mind. But look at this, Gyarados' AI just completely breaks and just spams Thunder Wave on the substitute. I guess in this game the AI can't recognize if there's a substitute up. I gotta remember that for future Pokemon. I wish I knew that for Raikou. Anyway, with Calm Mind set up, no one is safe from Flamethrower. Suicune starts off Gyarados with a Calm Mind, and if Gyarados chooses to Thunder Wave, which it almost always does, I have the Cherry Berry so I can continue on with Ice Beam. It does less than half to Gyarados, and I get paralyzed again. I use Ice Beam again and get a lucky crit. Now I try to spam Ice Beam on the 2 Dragonites before they get the best of me, and somehow, despite all odds, I still lose. I had you thinking I'd win. But jokes aside, I do win a few attempts later, having to be level 75 in order to 2-hit the Gyarados and the Kingdra. Okay everyone, if you're still here, thank you all so much. We've got one more foe, the champion. Let's do this! Togetic starts off with Flamethrower, but the Heracross somehow lives that and switches to Tyranitar. Once that happens, I spam Shockwave, which was my best move on it, and once I knock it out, Heracross is back. I let the Sandstorm defeat it as I use Soft Boil to restore my health. On Alakazam, I use the physical Shadow Ball to defeat it as well as Exeggutor. Gyarados is very easily with a Shockwave, and now we just got Charizard left. I use 2 Shockwaves, and that is enough for Togetic to defeat the second round of the Elite Four. Shroomish luckily outspeeds Heracross, and I can use a Spore on it to prevent Rock Tomb from messing up my already horrendous speed. Once I get Heracross to sleep, I start to set up my double teams. If it wakes up, I make sure to put it back to sleep right away. Once Heracross is taken out, I use Solar Beam on Tyranitar with my +6 special attack. Even though Charizard double resists Solar Beam, with a critical hit I get into red health and the Citrus Berry gets it out of heal range, but the Sandstorm does put it back into heal range, so it heals. After some perseverance, Charizard goes down, as does Alakazam, Exeggutor, and Gyarados. And after 50 resets in with the entire run, Shroomish has defeated the second round of the Elite Four. I have Parasect hold the Quick Claw from the Safari Zone just in case I get good luck. I do outspeed the Heracross by 1 point, which is nice to avoid Rock Tomb, but however, I don't outspeed the Charizard and it will KO me with Fire Blast. I will either need a Fire Blast miss or a Quick Claw clutch, and I get the Quick Claw clutch. Put it to sleep and use Aerial Ace. Nothing after the Charizard is threatening, and Parasect has defeated the second round of the Pokemon League. Mew starts off by knocking out the Heracross with 1 Psychic, and then on Alakazam I set up some Calm Minds. Even though it has Shadow Ball, Alakazam has super bad physical attack, so that is not a good move for Alakazam in this game. And once I reach +6, I take out the following Pokemon with ease. Even the Dark-type Tyranitar, who I had to use Earthquake on, not using my boosted special attack. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And with a bit of patience, Mew has finally defeated the second round of the Pokemon League. After I get to a slightly higher level, the Heracross is a 1-hit KO, and on Alakazam, I also set up Calm Mind. And once Celebi's fully set up, the rest of the Champions team didn't even stand a chance, and Celebi has now defeated the second round of the Elite Four. On Heracross, a single Flamethrower is enough to KO it. Next up is Gyarados. The plan here is to spam Crunch. On Charizard, I use Crunch and it lives in Red Bar, but I defeat it on the next turn luckily. Now for Tyranitar. I use Attract on it to prevent it from landing a powerful super effective Earthquake as I get off a sunny day, and then I use Flamethrower on it and the rest of the Champions team as Houndoom finishes off the champion. Flygon starts off with Attract on Heracross to prevent Rock Tomb, and then it goes down in an Earthquake, Crunch, and then Earthquake. Gyarados is next. I use Rock Slide twice for the knockout. Next up is Charizard. I missed the first Rock Slide, but then I hit the second one. It sadly doesn't knock it out in one hit, but a Crunch is able to take care of it. With Tyranitar, Flygon takes no Sandstorm damage, so I just use Earthquake for super effective damage, as it uses Earthquake on me for some reason, not knowing I have Levitate, but it doesn't matter, as I take out Alakazam and Exeggutor, and with that, Flygon has won round 2 of the Pokemon League. On Heracross, I set up with a substitute as Heracross tries to break it with Earthquake. Man, why do so many Pokemon in round 2 have Earthquake? Anyway, once Heracross is out, Gyarados goes down with Thunderbolt, as does Gyarados. Tyranitar is luckily not a ground type, as Thunderbolt does great damage to it and everyone else, and Raikou wins round 2 of the Pokemon League. Entei took quite a lot of tries to get this victory to work. Entei almost failed round 2 because the champion was taking so many tries, but luckily it gets to move on from Heracross trying to destroy its substitute too quickly, even with the help of Reflect, and I can finally move on from the Heracross with +3 in special attack. Once I get this, Flamethrower makes great work of Tyranitar, and then Gyarados, who uses Dragon Dance instead of attacking, as well as Charizard, Alakazam, and Exeggutor. So after 12 attempts at this fight, Entei finally defeats the second round of the Elite Four. On Heracross, 2 Surfs is enough for the knockout. Luckily, Heracross didn't go for Rock Tomb, as I move on to Tyranitar to take it out with Surf. Exeggutor is when I decide to set up some calm mines. Exeggutor does put me to sleep and use a light screen, but once I wake up, Ice Beam does not KO it, and it heals up with a full restore. These leftovers are the only reason I'm living through the sandstorm right now. After Exeggutor goes down, the Alakazam, Gyarados, and Charizard quickly follow, and Suicune is the last Pokemon to defeat the second round of the Pokemon League. I'm so happy you all decided to stick around for probably the largest bonus segment I've ever done, especially the repetitiveness. While it is sad that Shedinja and Wobbuffet still failed round 2, the other Pokemon I had to redo from my previous series, with the exception of Meryl since it failed at Agatha, and Cielo and Pucciano didn't even have a bonus segment, all the other redos completed round 2. Here is what the leaderboard looks like now. I know you all didn't see most of what the other Pokemon did during their runs, however, I do have the live streams of when I redid Mew, Celebi, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune on my channel if you want to see them. For the others, I do have the old episodes with my old rule set. While the run wasn't done the same, you should get a rough idea of the kind of strategies I used. But if there's enough demand for it, I will upload those entire runs as live runs if you want. I don't know if there will be a demand for it, but just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, while it may seem like I'm done with Leafgreen for now, I still have some surprises left. Well, here are the surprises. I still have to serve my punishment for the races I did with Steve M Plays on his channel and my channel. I gotta do Smeargle in Leafgreen, as well as Plusle vs Minun in Leafgreen. I will do those runs later in the year though. I really need a break from this game as I move on to new games for the series. The first game I'll introduce to the series is Pokemon Platinum. It may take a little bit to get out, but these are brand new games I have to relearn since my early childhood days. I hope y'all look forward to that, plus all the new games and content I plan to offer throughout the year, including Pokemon Red, Crystal, Sapphire, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Black, and White 2. Plus a new mini-series involving White 2. I'll let you all play a guessing game with that. I won't say what it is until I release my White 2 video. Thank you all for watching probably my longest video ever. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next speedrun.